Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Just finishing a 4-1 finish in a league. Just wanted to give a little public service announcement. Many of you might not enjoy this video as it does kind of look like a little bit of a rant or rage, but we really need to do something about these members of the community. This person is, rather than taking the loss, rather than just conceding the game, is waiting for a timeout, and which is super annoying because, we have places to go, things to do, decks to brew, and it's over. It's completely over. I have Lethal represented on board, and where he's passing through his main phase, so he's going on a beginning of combat. Obviously, not playing anything. If he did, we'd have the Westville Abbey would kill him no matter what, unless he can like crew something. If he does put down a creature, he still dies to lethal. He won't have enough blockers to do so with the activation of his Quagmire. So the best way to go about this is to report these type of players to MTGO and hopefully they do something. So right here is a nice little form, and so you just click on the customer support. It will take you to this little customer support help. You click on MTGO, you put in your username, and you report player disconnect before dying. Usually what they'll do is they'll give this person a 24-hour ban or like an 18-hour ban or something like this, so they don't queue up in other leagues and ruin the game for other players. Unfortunately, Magic the Gathering Online is not immune to kind of the world, the rage world we live in. This is just gaming. Heroes of New Earth was probably the worst game I ever played, with bad manner. With people just like especially spamming the concession button if you've ever played like Han or League of Legends. One of the things I like about Dota is they have a huge player base that a reporting kind of service where only legitimate reports actually get processed. But it also has like your ratings of how many times you've been reported, which means that people with a lower rating have a harder time queuing up. And it does a good way of just self-policing. But unfortunately, like every game is going to be just have this sort of the whole gamer bad mentality, especially the internet, the anonymity of an internet where you don't have to sit in front of your opponent. And this is the best way to go about that. So you just throw in the game ID, which is found at the top of the match here. So you just put in as much information as possible, and then you just go over to the wizards, and I just Googled, the way I Googled it was report MTGO user. And you just fill out this, and then just click the continue, and that's all they really need. And it will submit it. Hopefully you can log on, that's one of the things, and it will submit, and they'll email you back if there has been any sort of processing to this. So I just want to reach out to my community members. Please don't be this person. Just click the concede. That's it. You lost. It doesn't do anything except annoy the other person, and maybe that's your whole goal is to annoy the other person. But I just would like to see gaming have the same sort of mentality as other, sportsmanship, like good sportsmanship. I absolutely love that some of the pros have changed their attitudes now that they've been sponsored. I know that there was an issue in the last Star City Open, I think it was, or like a rules lawyering. Who was it? I'll have to find that again. I was going to talk about it, which is kind of the really over the top rules lawyering. And their sponsors looked into it and said, "Yeah, we actually don't agree with that either. We're going to put this person on notice. If he does it again, then we'll think about terminating his contract." And it's really made the pros actually start being professional, which is good because a lot of you may know I've had some history with some of the more professional players. You go back to the day that they'd eke out any win possible. Looking at you, Craig Wesco, with the notorious, I heard my opponents joking about gambling, so I'm going to call a judge to get my opponent disqualified as I just lost the round 2-0 so I can get in the top 8. That was the kind of environment that we used to have to play with. When I started competitive Magic around Zendikar, or I think it was Scars and Mirrodin block, the rules lawyering in the bad manner was everywhere. Kind of the tongue twisting, I got you, rules lawyer, did you say this, you said that, we're, type thing, rather than playing the game as an intention, was just rampant. So I just think that this is a nice little social justice cause you can actually join into to report these players, get them out of the community, get them their 24, 18-hour ban or whatever it is, so they stop doing this nonsense. This happens, I would say, not too often anymore. It used to happen a lot on MTGO. I have to wait for my prize, and see, he's not even disconnected. He's just like making sure that it doesn't time out. I think it times out every action. It's like, I think after 7 minutes or something, a little timeout. So I think we've been going for, let me look at my, I've been going 5 minutes on the recording here, and I think I gave it another 5 minutes or so up to this point. So anywho, if you're a fan of my content and my channel, I really, really encourage sportsmanship. I really, really encourage, camaraderie and just playing the game as intended and being just a good person in general. And just, again, no point to this. No point to this. So you just wasted 10 minutes of my life. Don't be this person. This has been Kevin. I'll show you the deck tech here with this deck again. I've just been kind of blah. Tried to record a bunch of video series, and I've just been not in the mood. You have to be in the mood for commentary, and I've just not been in the mood for it. So here's my prizes for another 4-1 finish with the Golgari tokens. Very legitimate deck. I'll show you. Might as well show you the deck that I've had so far. Not this deck. This not that deck either. So Golgari tokens. This is my latest updated list. We have still the full back to the Night Market Lookout. I think the card that's going to be next on the chopping block is going to be the Loam Dryad or the Marionette Master. The Marionette Master is actually not working as good as it used to. It used to have a really good combo with the Zulaport Cutthroat and the Marionette Master being in just to throw everything onto a Westvale Abbey, and then you at least do 2 damage per servo that dies. Or if you have the double Marionette Master, which doesn't happen that often with only the 2 of in the deck, you end up doing a ton of damage. It's usually 5 because you have 1-on-1 and 1-on-4, and it's just lethal right there. So they have been working out in this very hostile environment towards creatures. So I've turned into more of a control route with Deadweights and Kalitosses in the sideboard, and Vladimir Pariah just keeps dying to like Stasis Snares and Harness. So all those Vladimir Pariah I bring in versus decks that it doesn't just get blown out versus. White Spirit still is usually the deck that I bring it in versus the most. Appetites might be able to come out because Grasp plays double duty towards most of the artifacts you want to kill in the format. This is really in here for Colossus. So the Appetite would kill the Colossus-based decks, especially the Caravan, and just really set them back. Lost Legacy I've cut down to 2 just because even against decks I like to bring it in. It draws them a card if there was a card in hand, and so it's kind of like, I just don't even really like that interaction with it. There was a game where I actually drew my opponent into the card he needed by exiling a card out of his hand. And I think that any change is going to make it's going to be adding some Blossoming Sand or Blossoming Defense as a way to protect like Vladimir Pariahs, or even like the more impactful cards like the Kalitosses. I think it's very good in those type of matchups when you bring Kalitos in. A way to protect it is pretty key. And I'm actually thinking of Grim Haruspex of throwing in the deck. But again, we start to lose the feel of the deck of the tokens, and then turn more into like Black-Green Delirium. I think just Grim Haruspex helps set you up and can get rid of excess cards off the top, like the Cryptoth Rites when you have more than one, or like multiple Westvale Abbeys or comes into play tap lands. And so I'm just trying out those. I can't be disappointed with that. This is, I think, 3-4-1 finishes, and the rest have been 3-2. I have not done worse than a 3-2 finish on with this deck in the competitive leagues, and it has a really good play against basically every deck. There isn't a lot of decks that I feel dead in the water against. Its best matchup is probably Green-Black Delirium. Its worst matchup is probably the heavy control based decks or the Metalwork Colossus based deck. Anyway, that's the deck tech. Again, don't be that person. Don't just concede. Just play manner. Be a good person. Be a good sport. It's been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.